in nature, everything is cyclic. Nothing is linear. And because the concept of linear is too abstract a concept uh, to be used in daily life. What is useful is a cyclic idea. Day will be followed by night, you know, large will depend on small. Everything is cyclic. So, but the abstractions with which we work in terms of linear projections are not something which have a home in the rural setup. So, having disturbed the rural setup, we cannot actually go back to an urbanism which is purely market driven. I mean, we've done that. We've done a market driven urbanism. The 20th century is, and all we've got is these horrible towers everywhere. Every city around the world is sprouting these glass towers. Now, nobody in their right mind can say that this is a home for the human race, human species. Not at all. It's some other kind of monster that we have unleashed on the planet. Some pest. We haven't got it, but this, I mean, I find these glass towers which are sprouting all over is worse than a pandemic. And anyway, this is my personal view. But the fact is that I do believe that these glass towers have reached the end of the line. And we also know that, for instance, Google, which is so avant-garde in everything, on the cutting edge, their new office in London that they have built, they're calling it a land scraper, not a skyscraper. They have invented this new term, and they're very brand conscious, so they're constantly coming out with all kinds of interesting copy that they can share with their dumb followers. They're calling it a land scraper. Apparently, it's an 11-story high building, not 84, but 11. And it runs a long line along on the music. So this is a sign of the times. I mean, people are beginning to reject the glass tower, which Mies and SOM celebrated in the 1950s, and it became almost like a pandemic. It spread all over the world. In 50 years, it was everywhere. And in the 21st century, we're still seeing these stars coming up with great regularity. Fortunately, I would say that if you take the population of the planet as a whole, I would imagine that only maybe 1/3 of the planet's population is in a position to enjoy, let us say, life in these gleaming monsters which are rising up in every city under the guise of modern towns, modern town planning, modern urban development. So only 1/3. I would imagine that 2/3 of the world's population is just too poor to be able to be part of this particular society that we have generated. It's an elite. It's a particular elite. And I'm saying 1/3 as a conservative estimated, maybe even less. Because I know that in Delhi, if I look at the city around me, yes, and Gurgaon. I mean, Delhi, I mean NCT, the National Capital Territory of Delhi, which includes Gurgaon and Noida. And yes, Gurgaon and Noida, which are the new developments, they have these glass towers coming up. But still, 75% of the population is living in informal settlements, which is wonderful. And the people I live in a settlement where, yes, now they have started making 5-story, 4-story buildings. They're following what is happening in South Delhi, where people are making money on a plot of land by building 4-story apartments with a stilts underneath for parking cars. Very wishful thinking, because there are too many cars to be parked under stilts of a small house or a flat block of flats. But they're also beginning to do this in the village because people will follow each other. There is something called a herd mentality. But that's a few. Most people are living in single and double-story houses, and the roads are such that you can't drive fast on them. Cars are increasing. It is a bit of a problem, but they are so bad. The traffic system is so poor that you can't drive fast, which is a great blessing, because driving fast in a residential colony is asking for trouble. It's foolishness, you know. So the car is a very useful instrument, but it's useful at slow speed. At high speed, it becomes a weapon. It's no longer a convenience. So whatever it is, I think the majority of the world's population is still in a phase of development where they cannot access the latest of urban planning devices or tools or methodology. And I think that is the saving grace. So I'm saying that we've got to invent new ideas which are cyclic in their philosophy, which are ecological uh, in their shift, in their drift, in their approach, and where the, the linear is to be seen as a very dangerous abstraction. Life is cyclic.